Hey everyone, and welcome to Kelly's Chronicles, my channel where I sit down with people who are living everyday lives and listen to extraordinary stories hidden behind normal, quiet existences. Because here we believe that those lives are the most important and need to be acknowledged, heard, and celebrated as to not be forgotten by the passage of time. So welcome. Welcome to Kelly's Chronicles. I hope you guys all had a great week. I'm working on, as you can tell, I wrote a script, so I'm working on kind of making it a little bit organized. We got Dad here with us. How was your week, Dad?
Been busy.
Yeah.
We this is the time of the year when you move the chickens from the chicken tractor into the chicken house. So we had to do all the preparations to get the chicken house ready for this winter. And yeah, it was a busy week. And we moved. We had two round bales of hay, the big bales, the 1-ton bales. And we got a neighbor to come down with his tractor, and we moved the bales from our barn area because they were outside. They're just too big to go inside, and moved them over to next to the neighbor's barn, so
Okay.
we could feed both of our horses. We only got two horses now, but we can feed off of that bale now,
Well, that'll be good.
or
That'll be
bales,
winter.
two
Winter she
bales.
comes. Winter she comes. So
Yeah,
gotta get.
winter is coming like a freight train in the northern Rockies. You don't mess around here. It's like, oh, it's going to be 50 degrees today and going to be sunny, and then all of a sudden you look up and this black cloud comes over the mountain. Boom!
Yep.
Two
There's
feet
the
of snow.
snow. There's the snow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, we saw a little
no,
bit of
there's no real predicting the weather here.
now
Anyway, go ahead.
we're in Atlantic City, and on our way, we went through upper state New York, saw our first bit of snow. It wasn't really snow, it was more like slush rain mixture. So,
Okay.
but we're gonna head back to Albany here in I think this week or next week, and there's probably gonna be snow on the ground.
Yeah,
We
how's
didn't
the
get any rain.
attendance? How's the attendance at the concerts? Is he doing okay?
He's doing really good. He usually sells out most of his tickets. He's got about 2,000 people that come, and
Okay.
they have fun. They're just really kind of a chill group, like a chill band, and they're like, yeah, we love what we do, and they just they just like
They
to
play
rock.
any Led They playing Led
Oh
Zeppelin
yeah,
songs or
all Led
okay.
Zeppelin, Led Zeppelin experience. He's got, and
Whoa.
I think it's his. Don't
So
me if I'm wrong. I think it's his dad's face on the drum set, on the front of the drum set. So you know how on a drum set you'll have the face of the drum, and they'll put
right.
like the band name or. And they have a picture of a man on there. I think it's his dad. Yeah, they seem to be doing pretty good. They were just playing casinos, which casinos are a great place to go. A lot of people attend the casinos. It's a great place to perform. They have really nice stages.
Yeah, here we have a casino out on the reservation there, the Bannock Shoshone Reservation, which is a separate. I think they're kind of related, but I don't think that they're two separate tribes. And
Absolutely.
tribes are just families, or
Yeah.
and they have a casino on Interstate 15 it's about 60 miles from here,
I
and
think I've seen
they
that.
have billboards. They have billboards along the interstate, and there's some pretty big names that come through and have their shows here.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's bands that I used to listen to and watch, and I'm ecstatic that they still play. That makes me so
Yeah,
happy that my band's still rocking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see any Devo. I guess
Listen, okay, for
Devo
everyone,
has disappeared.
Dad, your favorite band in the whole world is Devo. Dad
Yeah.
loves Devo. So if you want to get Dad any like fun gifts to send to the house, get him anything Devo.
uh,
Send Devo
Yeah.
shirts.
I don't know if they even exist. There might be one on eBay or something.
I
Raggedy,
they exist.
raggedy, full of holes and stained up on the front. Yeah, Devo.
Surprised. You'd be surprised.
They had an album out about 10 or 15 years ago. They had like a
Whoa.
reunion or a kind of a resurgent type album, and it didn't do any. Nobody bought it.
That's
I didn't even buy it. I didn't even see a copy of it anywhere. It just kind of came out and then went away. Anyway, yeah,
well.
I like that. I just like that new wave stuff. And we
You'd be
wanted,
surprised what you can find on Etsy, which I love Etsy because I mean I bought a ton of my wedding stuff on Etsy. We bought a lot of stuff on Etsy because it's all like handmade and stuff. But anyway, you'd be surprised what you can find on Etsy. I bet there's somebody out there that makes like old rock and roll shirts,
yeah,
and they do requests. I might
yeah.
get you a Devo shirt.
Okay. Yeah. I just found out, speaking of rock, I just found out today or yesterday that the group Yardbirds had a guy in it called McGinnis. He was the a guitarist and the lead singer, and he left the Yardbirds and went over to another group, and I got to think of it now. They're the ones that did Mr. Tambourine Man and Turn, Turn, Turn. I did not know that McGinnis was even in the Yardbirds, and they were groundbreaking,
Yeah,
incredible
the Yardbirds are a
musicians
big
and had
deal.
some really, I mean, just out there songs that were like different from anything else. They were definitely new wave. And he went over to this other group. I actually saw this group when they were just getting started. It's so you don't remember the song Mr. Tambourine Man?
I know Turn Turn.
Yeah.
Now I gotta look it up. Now I
Because
gotta look it up. Now I gotta look it up. Hold on.
I just blanked out.
Turn Turn. Uh, the Birds.
The Birds, yes, the Birds. Why? How can I forget the Birds? Anyway, I saw the Birds. I was visiting my cousin in L.A., or he actually lives in Norwalk, which is a suburb of Los Angeles, and the Birds came to a venue. It was like a high school auditorium or a basketball court, what do you want to call it, and
Oh, like a
and
university?
yeah, no, in a high school.
Oh.
I think it was Norwalk High School. And then they showed up and yeah, and my cousin Rick says, well, we got to go down and see this band, the Birds or something. They don't even spell it right. But we went down there and yeah, sure enough, they were,
Whoa.
this was probably about 64, 63 or 64.
Okay.
And I'm not sure why I was in Los Angeles, but I was in Los Angeles and we
You
went to see this band, and it was
might
pretty. It was. I wish I would have got an autograph from him, but yeah, but I did not know that the lead guitarist for the Yardbirds went over the Birds. Get that? Yardbirds
I know
and
that's
the
kind of funny.
Birds.
I was thinking back when I was like
He went from the Yardbirds to the Birds
to the
and continued to make good music. And he was like this
I love that.
incredible guitarist. He made sounds on an electric guitar that nobody else could make, and
Probably
very,
close.
very
My
groundbreaking, credible musician.
yeah,
Anyway, let's do.
sometimes you'll just my band's about ready to put out another album, Jimmy Eat World, and I've yet to see them in concert, but I found my favorite album. They put out a hoodie with my favorite album cover on it, which is from the album Futures, which it was not this year, but last year they did a 20th anniversary tour for that album, and I missed it. I didn't get to see it, which made me really sad. And we were like right down the road from them in DC, which made me even more angry. A broken
Who was
heart.
it again?
Jimmy Eat
What's the
World.
name of the group?
Jimmy Eat World. You've heard their
Jimmy.
songs. I've played them for you. You like their music. You just,
Jimmy Eat World.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
And
like their music.
that's your favorite band, huh?
That's my
Okay.
absolute favorite band. It's always been my favorite band for like since I was like 17. That's a long time to love a band. I want to meet them. Someday I'm
Yeah.
going to meet them. Someday I'm going to shake their hands and be like, "You shaped my teenage years, my 20s. You got me through all the rough patches in my life. There things were going weird in my life, and I listened to Jimmy Eat World. It got me through my tears,
Wow.
my joy, and my weird, angsty, can't figure anything out. My horrible marriage got me through everything. Like got me through it all. Uh, so I asked Danny if he would get me that hoodie for Christmas with a bag for the Futures album, which he's already bought it because he does that. Because I barely tell him what I want. So I tell him what I want, and he buys it like immediately because he's that kind of husband. So
That's good. That way
oh
he
yeah,
doesn't have to remember. He just goes and gets it and sticks it in the
exactly.
closet, and then
I
he
just
got it
send him a
done.
picture,
Then you go,
and he's like,
ooh, I
"Yeah."
love this. How did you know I wanted that? Oh, back in April, you said you wanted it, and so I bought it.
So yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, let's jump right back. Been all over the place here today. Let's jump into the podcast, and we're gonna we're gonna pick up kind of where we left off. We're gonna jump back into Turkey where your dad was, and Harry's in Turkey now, and he's left you and your mom back in the States, and so back in Georgia. So we're going to talk about some more interesting stories from his time in Turkey, and then we'll also talk about you and your mom being back in Georgia and how things were taking care of yourselves without dad around. So we'll pick up right there, and yeah, let's go from there. So your dad leaves for Turkey, and he goes over there for about a year and a half. Now,
Yeah.
what you were about 7 or 8 when he left, correct?
No,
No, how old were you?
I was about 11,
Okay.
something like this. Is in 58. He was gone from 58 to, I think, in 60.
Okay.
I have to go look it up. I think
Old
it
enough
was
to remember.
58 or 59 to like 60 or 61 because we moved. As soon as he came back, we moved to Wisconsin. And we got up there. I was halfway through the 7th grade. And so that would mean that, yeah, I was a teenager, a
Okay.
young teenager,
Mm.
maybe 13 or 14 when we moved to Wisconsin. And yeah, that was pretty traumatic. Yeah, that was that's like going from Dog Patch to New York City. It was I mean, I was so naive because I was living in the country. I mean, we're a little tiny area and really not much exposure to modern urban life.
Yeah.
And we moved, like I said, and fortunately, the school I moved to was a little country school that had some. There was a Mennonite uh, community right there. It was in southern Madison, Wisconsin,
Oh,
and there was a
I love
there
it.
was a Mennonite community there, and the school only had, I would say, probably 100 kids in it, maybe a
Wow.
little bit more or less,
What were the
because
grade? What
my
were the grades?
graduating class. I graduated from the 8th grade. Believe it or not, there was 8 kids that we graduated from the 8th grade,
You graduated.
and so I just kind of, I guess if you interpolate that, say there was 8 kids in the 8th grade, then you multiply, 8 times 8, 64. So I would say less. I would say right around 100 kids in that school, and
Wow.
it was so. It was kind of neat in a way. We're kind of getting away from Georgia, but Wisconsin was kind of neat because of the Amish community there. Amish, they don't go to school after the eighth grade. Eighth
Right.
grade is
Correct.
it. They're done.
Yep.
And so I got a diploma from the eighth grade from the state of Wisconsin. I have a diploma signed and everything from eighth grade.
Interesting.
And
So was it
yeah, because
kindergarten to eighth grade in that school? That was the 100 kids, or was it?
yeah, it went from first through the eighth grade.
Okay.
It wasn't. I don't even think they had
Wow.
kindergarten, but it
That
was
is
a
tiny.
very small school, and that's kind
Tiny.
of saved me in a way because I wasn't thrown into some massive, middle school or something with 5,000 kids. Well,
Right.
high school had 5,000 kids. Oh, we'll talk about that later. I gotta
Yeah.
get back to Georgia.
Whole other, Springfield's a whole other story.
Yeah, we're kind of getting off track. So get back to Georgia.
Okay.
Okay, I think last time we were talking about Georgia, I kind of touched on the fact that Valdosta, Georgia, which is only 10 miles away. Valdosta, Georgia is the world's largest producer of what they call marine stores, which is
Hmm.
pine tar, basically. They
Okay.
call it marine stores because historically the sap from pine trees was used to chink the boards in wooden ships. They would use this pine tar because it goes on as a liquid, and then as soon as the water hits it, it turns into a solid. So it's
Oh.
a very good uh, use to put it in the board between the boards and wooden ships and seal them up.
I think
And
I've seen that before. I've seen that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and anyway, the seen Pine Sol,
Oh yeah.
the cleaner, whatever Pine Sol, that's made from the sap of pine trees, and these long leaf pines that grow in abundance in South Georgia. They would send crews out, and they were all black men,
Hmm.
and they would be, and I can remember the trucks going around. They would have a flatbed truck with had barrels on the right behind the cab. They'd have a couple of barrels back there, and then the black men would sit on this this flat bed of this truck, which means
Okay.
they didn't have seats. They were just sitting on the edge of a truck, driving down the road, however, 30, 40 miles an hour
Yeah.
with no, they were there, and they would go out in the woods. And you have to remember, this is South Georgia. It's infested with snakes. There's every kind of snake you can think of is out there in the woods.
Mm.
Most of them are poisonous, and they would be out in these woods and collecting this pine tar. They would. It's kind of like the way they do when they do rubber plantations. They'll
It's like a
cut the
drip.
tree. They take a knife and they carve a V-shaped
Hmm.
groove in the bark of the pine tree. And then they attach a tray. I think it was like metal, but they would attach this tray to the bottom of the V and collect the tar. The pine tar ran out of the tree, it'd run into this collection vessel, and they would then take that. When it got full, they would put that into these big barrels in the back of the truck. And it was, I mean,
Wow.
this pine tar is nasty.
It's sticky.
It's sticky.
It does not come
It
off your skin. It
yeah,
is not like skin.
it's not a pleasant thing
Mm-mm.
to be working with. But these poor old black guys would be sent out, and that may have been all the work they could get. And you know what?
Yeah.
I looked this up on YouTube. The uh, I looked up Valdosta pine, and it had a picture of men out in the woods collecting the pine tar.
Yeah.
So after,
Like
I'm
a main
looking
job
back,
for them.
I'm looking back 70 years in the past, 65 to 70 years ago, black men out collecting pine tar in the snake infested woods, and there they're still out there doing it.
That's like it's almost like a generational job. You get into it, and
Yep.
I bet a lot of them
Yep.
bought the companies, and nowadays run the farms and run the equipment, and maybe even own like a part of the business, because they probably have multiple businesses down there that collect.
I would hope so. I hope that they'll advance to being owners of the business instead of just worker bees.
Yeah, I would hope so too. So that's pretty interesting about the pine tar. It just kind of gives you an idea of like what resources that people had down there for employment wherever they were in life, whatever side of the coin they were on. So your dad was so did your how was your mom? Like, was she okay during this time? How were you during this time? Like, was it really difficult not having your dad around? Because I mean,
Yeah, it was.
your
It
dad
was.
your dad ran a pretty tight ship. I mean, he was military, and you know I know he was
Yeah.
took really good care of your family and made sure you guys were safe and that you were good, but that had to be difficult not having your dad around. I mean, I think as a kid, if you were gone for a year and a half, I'd struggle as a kid. That'd be really difficult for me.
Yeah. Well, he kept things in good order. We were out of this. We
Good.
were when Dad was there. We were in an 8 by 35 trailer, and he bought. Somehow he got a hold of a 10 by 46 trailer, which is like for us is like a
Yeah, that's a
mansion,
mansion.
and and he got it moved over into a different part of the trailer park instead of being right on the dirt road. We were kind of back in maybe like 50 yards or so off the road, back in a different part of the trailer park, and and it was much. He had got it all set up for us and everything, and we had a TV antenna there when we were living in the red trailer, the 8 by 35. I think we had TV, but it was pretty bad. And we
Mm.
moved into the 10 by 46, and he put up this probably a 30-foot mast with guy wires and everything on it, and had a an antenna on top of that TV antenna, and it had a rotor which you could turn the
Yeah,
antenna with had a motor in there, and you had a little box, and you would
I
aim
remember
it
those.
at the TV stick. Yeah, and we could still get we could get Jacksonville, Florida. That was we could get like one or two stations out of Jacksonville, Florida, and it was a little better. We could. I don't really remember much about the TV from. I remember the TV from the other trailer. That was I can remember sitting in the living room, and it was tiny little living room. Sitting in the living room and had the TV right there, and I could watch my morning cartoons and everything. And I can't really remember doing that in the other trailer. Maybe I was into different activities, but I don't really remember cartoons or
You were
anything.
probably more into your comic books than you were into your little comic books that you love to read more than anything.
Well,
So
yeah, I would think it was out playing more.
yeah,
Because when
nice
we
thing to do.
I think that was about the same time that the Jackson family moved into the trailer park,
Okay.
and I kind of gravitated toward them, and because there was only like all the time I was growing up in Georgia, there was a family, the Eubanks family, and their father was a sergeant, a in the Air Force, and there was like four boys, and
Oh wow.
I my main playmate was the next to oldest, a guy named Keith
Mm.
Eubanks,
Okay.
And Keith and me, we're like good. We're pretty good buds. And then when the Jackson family moved in, they had a daughter about my age and a boy that was a little younger, and
Mm.
I kind of hung around with him a little bit more because Keith was a wild child. I mean, he was always doing weird stuff.
He's
He
always in
ended up,
trouble, huh?
by the way, he ended up in the Marine Corps when he got older, and he was killed in Vietnam.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah,
Mm.
and anyway,
Yeah, a lot of boys do.
I think at that time I was getting into more like me and the Jackson kids, we play cowboys and Indians, and I don't know, Keith never liked to do that sort of thing. So,
Ah.
we would, yeah, so we were into that, and I just think I was doing a lot more Saturday morning activities because, yeah, I Saturday and Sunday of course, everybody was out of school,
Mm-hmm.
and plus the fact that the Jacksons were Catholics.
Yeah.
They were Catholics, and I was a atheist. No, no.
Yeah,
I
it sounds
think I
like
went to
you guys didn't go to church at all.
yeah. I went to Sunday school a little bit on the base. They had a base chapel. It was like Protestant and Catholic, and that was it. No Jews, no Mormons or anything. It was just Protestant. So I'd go to the Protestant Sunday school, and that was it. There was no. I didn't go to church. Just went to Sunday school, and the Jacksons, of course, they I don't think they even went. I don't think they went to church in on the base. I think they went into Valdosta to a Catholic church
Okay.
because they started catechism when I was in later on in their my experience there. They started doing catechism, which is a Catholic Sunday school,
Right.
and yeah, so they were off on Sunday. They were off doing their thing, and I was doing my thing,
Mm.
which there was
So,
no cartoons on Sunday, so I don't know what
no.
I guess I read. I like to read.
Yeah,
I was a real big reader
that's
when
where I
I
get
was
it from.
younger. Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I was in first grade in Alaska, I was a bluebird reader. Yeah, which was
Oh.
the highest level of first grade readers. So, but I really like to read a lot, and
Yeah.
I
So like read.
I particularly I like historical fiction and science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was more into fiction than I was into like biographies or anything. Anyway,
Yeah.
don't want to get off on that too much. So
So
anyway,
so
yeah,
was your mom, so nowadays I know when a lot of when soldiers will head off for going out on tours and going off for, going to wherever they need to go in the world. Um
yeah.
the women will have a lot of support groups. They take care of each other. Did your mom have anybody that she could kind of turn to at this time? I mean,
Uh, Jeez.
do you remember
Not
her hanging out with
well.
little
She had
kids?
a jo-
Oh,
she had a
really?
job. Yeah, and she was driving. When Dad was around, she didn't drive.
Right.
Dad drove. But when Dad went Turkey, she started driving.
It was
We
the
had a 55 had a 55 Ford, and I think that was no. Wait a second. No, no. I think Dad had already had sold that car and bought a 60 Ford
Oh. Okay.
because this was. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the timeline again because that may have been. We may have still been driving the Ford, 55. Anyway, she was driving. I think
Hmm.
and she would go down to the drive down to the base, and they had a base nursery, and she worked in the base nursery,
Oh.
making I don't know a little bit of money, and
That's cool. I didn't know that about grandma.
yeah, and she was pretty independent, and and then
Oh, she was good at that.
uh, yeah, she took care of things, and like I said, Dad had left us in pretty good shape, and and
So was he writing letters back home? And I mean, because you guys probably was there phone calls or was it just
no
letters?
phone calls,
No phone
no,
calls.
no phone calls.
And he
Phone
never came
back
home
then,
in
I was
this. He never came home in this period of time, did he? He was gone the whole
no,
time.
was gone the whole time, and a phone call would have been prohibitively expensive. I think you could have made a phone call, but it would have been mucho bucks,
Yeah,
and just letters,
letters.
and
Mm.
yeah, and dad was he was an avid photographer. He loved to take pictures of anything and everything, and so he had a extensive collection of pictures of Turkey and all of his travels there. And he would either, he didn't have a car. We had the car. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure if he was borrowing Air Force vehicles or renting, probably
maybe.
Air Force vehicles, or else he was going with another guy. He could
Okay.
have been out. Another guy had a car. Anyway, he drove all over Turkey, and he had pictures of like Crusaders castles and camels. All just I've got probably I would say probably 100 slides taken in Turkey, and
Wow.
that's kind of a lot of where he was in Adana was only about 100 miles or so from Jerusalem, and so
Close. I didn't know it was that close.
yeah, back during the Crusades, uh, there was there was a lot of military goings on in that part of the world. As the Crusaders came in, they would conquer cities, and Adana was one of them that they conquered, and they built a castle pretty close to Adana, and Dad had pictures of those.
Oh,
And then they
wow.
would move from there. They would go down to Syria, because Syria borders on southern Turkey, and they
Mm.
would go down to Syria and attack Jerusalem and try to get it back from the Muslims. And so there's a lot of history there,
Oh,
thousands of
yeah.
years of history. The Romans were there. That is pretty close to Ephesus, which is the book of
Bible.
Ephesians
Yeah.
is was in Turkey. The
Hmm.
Ephesia is in Turkey, and
That's interesting.
so the Romans were there, and the first uh, Christians were there in that southern Turkey, and lots and lots of history. And I told you last time about the oldest, or not the oldest, or if one of the oldest Christian churches, but
Correct.
unfortunately, it's in Turkey or Syria. I think it's in Turkey, and they're all Muslims, and they
Very
could
war.
care less
Yeah, war
about
torn.
this church. And so it's just a dilapidated ruin. But Dad got pictures of it,
Which
and so
back when
anyway, I
you
think it
went
was in a town called Antioch. I think that's where it was. And I'm not sure if Antioch is in Syria or Turkey. I'd have to look it up. And that's where the church was, and that's also mentioned in the Bible, uh, in some of the Acts. After Christ never went there, but the apostles did,
there.
and Antioch is mentioned in the Bible. And I don't think there was a church built there at the very beginnings of the. This was late. Probably the church was probably from um, say the 3rd or 4th century A.D., about 2 or 3, 400 years after Christ, and very, very interesting thing. I mean, you could go there and spend a lifetime just doing historical um, journeys and
Yeah,
historical
that whole area is incredible.
just and dad. I don't think Dad wasn't a scholar. He was a military guy and a farmer, and I don't think he really understood where he was in the world. I don't think
Mm.
he knew how close he was to. If I'd have been there, I'd have been down in Jerusalem. Boom.
Oh yeah. I don't
I'd have
think
been
you
down. I'd
realized
have been
how
down to
close he
Sea of
was to where
Galilee,
the guys walked.
the Dead Sea. It's all right there. I mean, it's right there. Dad was
Really?
close to all that, but he never really he went out. I don't think he ever went to Syria because I think there was a frontier there that your military really wasn't supposed to go into. So maybe that's why he didn't go down there.
Off limits
But
area.
he traveled all around southern Turkey and if I'd have been there, I'd have been over Mount Ararat too, because that's in eastern Turkey, where the Ark came to rest is in eastern Turkey, and
Oh,
and I think he mentioned one
that's
time.
amazing.
Yeah, I think he mentioned one time that he could see Mount Ararat from Madonna. I'm not sure if that was
Oh wow.
anyway. It's not that far away, but he never went there. He just kind of hung around Adana, and I think he went up to Izmir. Maybe he
Like you
went to
said, he
Istanbul,
didn't
but
know.
he did go to Germany. He denies it, but the evidence
I know
the
they never.
evidence is that he was in Germany because he brought me. For one thing, he got a typewriter up there. Brought me a
Yeah.
typewriter. He got some stuff from mom, some jewelry from German, and I don't know why he didn't buy a cuckoo clock while he's up there.
For real. And,
Yeah,
you know,
I remember. I remember me and your mom went to Germany. We were in
why did you guys get a cuckoo clock?
uh, we were in a tax-free shop in Frankfurt, and
Okay.
it was all cuckoo clocks. It was every kind of cuckoo clock you'd ever want. And I said, "Let's buy." No, we're not buying one of them.
That's
She
what would
she
drive
said,
mom crazy. She'd be like, I'm gonna take that bird and I'm gonna throw it out back.
yeah. Now, Grandma Olson had a cuckoo clock, right in the living room. And I was always fascinated by it. As a matter of fact, she let me wind it.
I don't remember that. Oh no, your grandma. Your grandma.
My grandma.
Okay, sorry. For some reason I was like, grandma.
Not
Not grandma's.
That was not her thing.
No.
She was not into that sort of thing. Anyway,
They did have a big
getting back
grandfather clock that Amy and Travis, my sister Amy and Travis, have now. They inherited that.
right
That
now
was
that
really
Dad
beautiful.
built that.
Yeah.
Dad built that the grandfather's clock, but I think it's been lost.
No,
I
no,
don't think anybody's.
no. Amy has it.
No,
Amy has it.
Amy.
Amy and
Oh,
Travis.
okay.
Amy and Travis inherited that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's safe with them.
Okay.
It's safe with them.
Okay.
I think mom and her had a kind of a discussion about where it would go safely, and Amy knew that it'd be safe with her, so she took it. And she's
Okay.
yeah. Amy and Travis have quite a few family heirlooms, which I'm happy they do because they're great at displaying them. So, but we're kind of running short on time. But I wanted you to share at least one fun story before we head out of here. So it can be from either Georgia or Turkey. Before we end this week's podcast, so if you can think of a story that we can put on here before we end.
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to think of something I haven't discussed. Okay, like I was talking about the fact that Moody Air Force Base was a fighter interceptor base where they trained pilots to intercept Russian bombers, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And they would go through the school there, and then they would be deployed to Air Force bases on the northern tier of United States and some up into Alaska to intercept Russian bombers. So
Correct.
they were all newbies. They were just out of flight school, and they had some pretty weird stuff going on. Like me and Keith Eubanks were out sitting in, and I remember distinctly, there was a big ditch that ran the back of our house and had just a grassy knoll there. and we'd go out and lay on that grass and watch the cars go by and watch the planes go by. And we were out there one day, and this F-89, which is a Air Force uh, twin. It has a pilot and a co-pilot. A lot of the planes were single single seat, and this was a twin seat pilot and co-pilot. And you saw this F-89 coming around to make. Now they'd always turn right in front of our house. That was where they would do their downwind turn and head for the runway. And this plane was on its final approach. Had already made the downwind turn and it's on its final approach. And we saw smoke coming out of it. I said, "Hey, Keith, you got smoke coming out of that jet?" And he said, "Yeah." And all of a sudden, canopy came off. Boom. Co-pilot bails out. And Keith's going, "Whoa, did you see that?" And I said, "Yeah." And then the pilot goes, boom, he pops out. Canopy deployed, and the plane banks over. And fortunately, it banked away from us.
Thank goodness.
Banked. You're like a quarter of a mile away, that far away, and it banks to the, I guess it would be to the east, and goes down behind the tree line, and then this big black cloud of smoke comes up, and then the explosion. Just because it was a pause between the black smoke and the explosion. And then the pilot and co-pilot goes over. They go over and landed kind of downwind from where we were at, kind of over to the north. And Dad heard the explosion, came running out, jumped in the car, and went down the road and picked up the pilot. And he got in trouble for that because as soon as that plane exploded, the crash crews got in their trucks and started out looking for the pilot and the co-pilot.
Yeah.
And Dad had the pilot. And they said, "You're not supposed to do that. The crash crews, they need to know who survived." It was pretty funny.
The pilots.
Yeah, and then we had another one that had a T-33, which is another training aircraft that the pilot didn't eject. The pilot and the co-pilot did not eject. They augured in, and the plane didn't explode. It just was ripped to pieces by the pine trees. And they went down into a pine forest, and they were finding pieces of airplane and pieces of pilot and co-pilot for
my God.
There's even a story about the pilot's head still in the helmet was up in a tree. And I said, "Whoa." I mean, this was in the 50s, Cold War. It was brutal. They didn't care. They just wanted bodies to go fight, flying their aircraft. They didn't care, how unreliable their aircraft were. They were going to work with what they had, which was pretty primitive. This was the very beginning of the jet age, and these aircraft were not defendable, and they were not safe. So a lot of pilots lost their lives in the Cold War trying to be ready for the war that they thought was coming. But as you can see, it never happened.
No, I think it was. I don't think like a major war was fought, but I do firmly believe that there was a lot of tiny little things that were being fought behind closed doors.
Absolutely, yeah. Because it was just like two of these gigantic militaries and all of their attached, like all their spy agencies and all that kind of stuff, just going at each other without any regard, no regard for human life, and it was pretty brutal. A lot of really bad things happened in the Cold War that you don't hear about. Hundreds and if not thousands of men were killed on both sides in all of these little engagements and stuff. And in Vietnam, was just a proxy war between Russia and China and the United States. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Fighting to keep people
but
free all over the world.
yeah,
Tell you.
almost 60,000 men died in Vietnam. So
Yeah.
it got pretty bad.
We're
Yep.
we're definitely marching full swing into that era of your life. So I know a lot of bad things happened during that time, but it's probably one of my most looked forward to times of discussing of your life, because we have a lot of stories from Vietnam.
Yeah, and we still haven't finished Georgia.
No, we
I still
haven't.
got
We got lots of stories.
yeah, that was like that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
I grew up in Georgia and went from the second grade to this halfway through the seventh grade, and all of my preteen and early teen years were there.
Oh
And
yeah.
and it's like I
Yeah.
got a soft spot in my heart for Georgia, and I was a true blue, dyed in the wool Georgia cracker.
That's right.
I mean,
Why do you think
you live there.
I love this song. I love it.
You're gonna become part of this. Either you're gonna totally isolate yourself, or you're gonna be part of the culture. And I became part of the culture.
Oh yeah.
And yeah,
That's
we'll get into that later on.
oh yeah. we gotta kind of wrap it up here. I'm hoping I can still get my hands on some crab legs over here in Atlantic City. So that's my goal.
Oh yeah, they got some good seafood there.
But
Yeah.
yeah, true Marylander over here. So all right, but that was a great podcast. We just kind of just talked about a couple of things, and we will catch you guys next week. We post every weekend, so either Saturday or Sunday. I like to post. This last week was a little bit difficult, but we hope you guys have a wonderful week. We're on here just sharing stories and talking about life in general, and sharing an extraordinary life lived by just a everyday normal guy over here. So please comment and like and share our videos on here, and please be safe out there on these crazy roadways, and we will catch you guys next week.